You're listening to Talk LFC Podcast, an independent podcast for Reds by Reds. Be sure to hit that follow button.
Hello and welcome to Talk LFC Podcast. My name is John Rainey and today is the 1st of October 2017. Welcome to the podcast for the match review for Newcastle versus Liverpool, played this afternoon at St James's Park. I was hoping to come on here and have better news, but it looks like it's more of the same, unfortunately. Can anybody let me know if they can hear me? I'm not sure whether or not I can be heard. So look, it'll get things underway. Newcastle drew 1-1 with Liverpool, as I mentioned already today, at St James's Park. Goals from Philip Coutinho in the 29th minute and Gisello for Newcastle in the 36th minute. Just some of the stuff from today that Gini Wijnaldum made a return to St James's Park after his transfer to Liverpool from Newcastle, who he made 40 appearances for. But unfortunately, he went missing again for today's game, which he has a tendency to do, unfortunately. Today was his 54th appearance for Liverpool, which I was kind of surprised at, but I suppose he does be a regular appearance. Jordan Henderson today was his 250th appearance. Just the first meeting in the Premier League era. Second meeting in the Premier League area between Jurgen Klopp and Rafa Benitez. We beat them, or did we draw? I think we drew with them the last time we played them before they were relegated. Benitez, he's adored by the Newcastle fans, and today he invited Margaret Aspinall as a special guest of his to today's game. Margaret, of course, is well known for her campaigning for the Hillsborough Justice. And Benitez previously had 2 draws against Liverpool in the Premier League. He had one with Chelsea and one with Newcastle before he was relegated to the Championship. And he also won both games as a manager with Valencia against Liverpool. Some not so pretty stats. Today reflects 1 win in the last 7 games in all competitions for Liverpool, and including today's results, that's 14 goals conceded. We also had 1 victory in September, which was the away victory to Leicester in the league, which we won 3-2. Some of the match stats: Liverpool had 17 shots on goal, only 3 of them were on target, and 7 of those shots were from outside the box. We had 67.7% of the possession, and we had 5 corners to Newcastle's 1. Liverpool had 614 passes compared to Newcastle's 296. So that'll tell you what direction the game went. We had 27 crosses compared to Newcastle's 10. And only 30% of Liverpool's crosses were successful, compared to Newcastle, who had even less. They had 0, so none of their crosses were successful at all. Just some of the player stats from today. Joel Matip put in 3 defensive tackles, only winning 1, and he had 4 clearances. Dejan Lovren put in 1 defensive tackle, winning it, but he made 4 clearances. He also made 1 block. Gini Wijnaldum, as I mentioned previously, put in 1 tackle, made 1 block, and had 1 interception. He also made 38 passes. But when you compare that to Jordan Henderson made 86 passes, and he also put in 4 tackles, winning 2 of them and making 1 clearance. Phil Coutinho put in 3 tackles, winning all 3 of them, and he also made 3 blocks. Now Sadio Mane today had a pretty poor game, which is unusual for him. He had 2 shots, both of them from inside the box. Mohamed Salah, again, not great today. He had 1 shot, and that was from inside the box. Daniel Sturridge, who I thought was very poor today, he had 4 shots, 2 of them in from inside the box, 2 from outside, but only 1 of them on target. And very, very poor from Roberto Firmino today. He didn't register a single shot on goal, which is a concern. Dominic Solanke, he had 1 shot, and that was from inside the box. Now, Sturridge today, I was very disappointed with him. I thought he was very sluggish, and he didn't do much to make a case for getting into the squad. Everybody was expecting big things today because he has such a good record against Newcastle. So, we're kind of expecting big things today, but unfortunately, never transpired. He was brought in because, I suppose, Firmino hasn't exactly been firing on all cylinders of late, which he proved, I suppose, when he came on. I know he hadn't a whole lot of time on, but you would expect in the 15 minutes that he did have, he would have had at least 1 shot on or, created 1 chance. But it seems not. Phil Coutinho, today's goal makes it 3 goals in 3 games since his return in all competitions. And he showed today, I think, the reason he's world class and the reason that Barcelona are after him. If you look at it, you take Phil Coutinho out of the game today, and really, we would have lost. We would have struggled, as we would have had in previous games where he played. Now, that may be obvious when you say 3 goals in 3 games, but it's not just his goals; it's his work rate as well. Currently, we are in 7th place with 12 points, having scored 13 goals and conceded 12 after 7 games. We're 7 points off Manchester United and Manchester City, who both have 19 points after 7 games. But the positive is we're only 1 point outside the top 4. We are 3 points from 3rd. So it's a bit, I'm trying to take a positive from it, but there aren't a lot of positives to be taken from today's game. Just before we go into some of the details of the match, what I'll do is I'll play the after-match interviews, and we'll start with Jurgen Klopp.
Jurgen, what did you make of what you saw this evening?
A lot. One team which creates more chances and score 1 time, and one team which creates 1 chance and score 1 time. So that's a draw, and it doesn't feel too good, of course, but it's the situation, and obviously the things fly not in our hands. I don't know, that we have to do nothing and it happens. So we have to work harder, and we create wonderful chances, are alone in front of the goalkeeper. Everybody knows usually it's a 100% goal, but not in the moment. So we have to take this. But still, we cannot change the way. We cannot say we don't create anymore. We wait now, and whatever. Man United, the next game will be a different game, of course. But even there, we have to use the moments and stuff like this. And so it's obviously not a perfect moment and kind of frustrating in the moment, of course, how you can imagine. But it's still so many positive things. Just the result isn't, because I think in Newcastle you can really play worse and have more problems than we had today. So the boys, with all the average results we had now in the last 1-2 weeks, they still push themselves and go and try again. Come on, head up again, whatever, and stuff like so. That's really good. But I can imagine we don't go into the dressing room after a game like this and give hugs and stuff like this and say it was fantastic, because we know we can do better, but we will not change the way.
Does the moment in the first half and the build-up to the goal kind of sum up where we are at the moment in terms of luck? We don't get the foul in the box, and then the next minute they're up the other end of the field and Joel gets a horrible deflection when he tries to clear the ball and it...
No. I can't remember the situation, what happened in their box. And to be honest, you mean
I think Dejan was...
No, next step he pulls off the shirt. Yes, that's a clear penalty. But as I know a few times, if you don't help yourself, nobody else helps you. That's how it is. A goal, usually 2 center halves, if they see it, that their passer make 1 step and he's offside. What we did today, I think that was the only chance they had, pretty much. Okay, set pieces, but we did quite well. And But obviously, there were 2-3 players in front of them. Maybe they didn't see it, the ball in this second. You cannot make that step without knowing what happens. So it's this millisecond. You need a little bit of luck for this. That's not. You could have defended better if you see it. I don't know if they saw it or not. We have to watch it from different angles. But it's in this moment not perfect. But how I said already to other TV teams, it's not about bad defending in general. It's about this situation, and it will always happen in different moments. And to us, it happened today. And if we score as often as we could have had scored, nobody talks about.
So that was Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, I didn't realise the end of the interview tapered off like that, so apologies. But I think you get the general gist of it. There's no congratulations in the dressing room, and rightly so. Just kind of a recap, I kind of took extensive notes on today's game. I'm kind of sorry I did now because I've kind of half lost myself here. But we did, we started off pretty well. Like 3 minutes in, Salah played a cracking ball for Mane, but he missed out on the return, the square pass that was played back to him as he was running in. Jonjo Shelvey, I thought was very good today, and he narrowly missed out on man of the match. It was given to Richie instead. But I thought Jonjo Shelvey certainly was a candidate for man of the match today. I thought he had a good game. And in a game, Jonjo Shelvey keeps a cool head, I suppose, is a good game for him. Henderson today, I thought, was good. Some of his long passing and his tackling was pretty, as we mentioned already with some of the stats, was pretty good. But it was obvious what they were doing, what Newcastle were doing to us earlier on, is they were targeting our left-hand side with Moreno. They got plenty of joy down that left-hand side or down their right-hand side. And they had a couple of chances in the first 10 or 15 minutes, a couple of crosses in, albeit not too much on the end of them, but at the same time they were still threatening. They obviously identified Moreno as a weak point. First 10 minutes I thought Coutinho was quiet, but after that he starts to come into the game a bit more, and I think he did have a big influence from that point on. On 12 minutes, Matt Ritchie forced a save from Mignolet from the edge of the box, and yet again that was from our left-hand side. We were playing deep in the first 15 minutes, and it was pretty obvious when Coutinho was as far back as he was. So I think we were very tentative in the very beginning. But as I said, Coutinho kind of started to come into it a bit more from then. Sturridge on 19 minutes had a pretty good pass through from the halfway line to set Salah off, which I thought was one of the brighter points of the game for Sturridge. Salah had the pace to beat Yedlin, but he ran out of space as the attack came to nothing. Newcastle again on 22 minutes threatened again down our left-hand side. But Mignolet was an easy enough save for Mignolet. Liverpool had a corner a minute later, and Sturridge got on the end of Coutinho's delivery, but it hit the post. The ball came back out to Matip in the penalty area, and I thought he should have taken the opportunity to shoot, but he controlled it, passed it to Lovren, and then Lovren's shot was rebounded over to Mane on the left-hand side of the Newcastle 6-yard box, but he hit wide. As I mentioned already, I thought Mane was poor enough today, but I think that was evident in the fact that he was substituted. Coutinho was on the receiving end of a few fouls, 2 during the match, which I think they recognised the threat early on. But on 29 minutes, Coutinho scored from all of 20 yards out on the left side of the Newcastle area. He shifted the ball to the right of former Red Jonjo Shelvey to make a bit of room for a right-footed shot. You could see he looked up to see where the goalkeeper was, and the goalkeeper took a little shuffle to his left-hand side, expecting him to put it that side. But Coutinho took a little peep and actually put it to the goalkeeper's right. Now, goalkeeper tried to recover, but was too late. He almost got to it, but I think it was too well struck. Excuse me. And that put us 1-0 up. Now, there's a nice little interesting stat that I found today, was that Coutinho has now scored the most goals from outside the box than anybody in the Premier League since February 2017, and that's with 17 goals. So that's an interesting enough stat. Salah then, he had an opportunity. He got past the defender Clark and shielded the ball to get in on goal, but it was forced out to a corner. 4 minutes later, Newcastle break away, and I thought it was very, very naive defending. John Joe Shelby had the ball pretty much on the edge of their 18-yard box, and he spotted Joselu's run, who was just on the halfway line. Now, we were playing a very, very high line, and Joselu was level with both Lovren and Matip when the ball was played. So, there was a question of offside, but he was onside. In fairness to him, it was a good goal. So, now, both of them were guilty of ball watching, as far as I'm concerned, because neither Lovren or Matip pick up on Joselu, and he splits the two of them as a result of our high defensive line as well. They were pretty much sitting on the centre circle. I think Lovren's ability to read a game is poor. Matip's is a little bit better, and he kind of did see it, but he saw it too late. So, both defenders were at fault for it. It's not like they hadn't plenty of time to see the pass coming through, because, as I said, the long ball was played over the top from in front of the Newcastle back four. So these guys had time to see the ball coming in the air and should have been prepared to do something, but unfortunately weren't. Matip was a little bit unlucky, I suppose, when you look at the way he actually did get back and he got a toe on the ball, but all he did was he kind of hit it off Joselu's shin, and the ball rolled harmlessly past Mignolet. But it was a very, very soft goal to concede, and yet again we're exposed by a counter attack. There was a penalty shout for Liverpool in the 38th minute then, which I thought was a clear penalty. Lovren was manhandled by Kieran Clark. He took a hold of the back of his shirt, gripped it into a ball and pulled him down. Unfortunately, that went unchecked. But from that point on, Newcastle kind of seemed happy enough to sit back, towards the end of the first half anyways. And they were happy enough for us to have the ball and to play it over and back in front of them. They were quite happy to sit there. But yeah, that was the first half. Second half, it looks like, I don't know whether they got a bit of a bollocking by Jurgen Klopp, but they were sent out before Newcastle for the second half. They were out a good few minutes before them, because Newcastle were standing in the tunnel for a while too. And I'd say standing in the tunnel, I'd say it was done on purpose, because they knew Liverpool were out there and it was going to be uncomfortable for them while they were out there on their own. Excuse me while I take a drink. But we kind of got off to the second half, got off a bit better. We were only 2 minutes into the second half, and Sturridge put a ball in from the left, in for Wijnaldum, but it was just a little bit too high, and it just ended up in a glancing header, which ended up running away. Apologies, my phone is making noises over here. Just turn that off. 3 minutes later, then Coutinho had a lovely flick on the left-hand side, and he put Salah in. And the ball was missed by the Newcastle defenders, but Salah played the ball through to Sturridge, who should have scored that opportunity. And it's just another example of, maybe, I don't know whether it's Sturridge lacking in match sharpness or what have you, but he just, not clinical in front of goal for someone who was so prolific the season, the great season that he had with Luis Suarez. He hasn't contributed anything pretty much under Jurgen Klopp. After that, the ball came back out to Salah on the penalty spot, but again he fired over. 4 minutes later, Salah fouled Moreno, and Salah was fouled by Moreno. He got a yellow card for it, and Perez got a yellow card for kicking the ball away. But there was plenty of activity. We did have chances. We had a free kick from 30 yards out of 55 minutes. Gomez also picked up a yellow card, and I was kind of concerned for him, because he seems to be prone to some disciplinary issues. Then I suppose a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes later, Sturridge was caught marginally offside. I think it was probably the right call. 73 minutes. There isn't really much to talk about, I suppose, in the second half. More so, I suppose, towards the latter end of the half, that the 73rd minute, Sturridge and Mane came on to make way for Firmino, Sturridge and Mane came off to make way for Firmino and Solanke, and a minute later, Newcastle subbed off Moreno for Hayden. The 75th minute, Moreno, he got a cross through the Newcastle area from the left, but he hit it that bloody hard that there wasn't much chance of anybody getting onto it. Just looking through the rest of the stats that I had down here. On the 80th minute, Liverpool had 14 attempts on goal, with only 2 on target at that point, but Newcastle had 6. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain came on to replace Mohamed Salah on the 82nd minute. Chamberlain didn't really do a huge lot when he came on. Coutinho put in a lovely ball, a lovely little low cross with about 7 minutes to go. And Dominic Solanke got in with a diving header on it, but he had it just wide, which was probably one of the best chances towards the end of the second half. But we had some shaky moments at the back. Perez jumped on the end of a headed clearance from Lovren, and he tried to lob Mignolet, who was off his line. Bit of a long-range effort, and it did go over the bar, but it was a bit of a wake-up call. Moreno was still causing trouble. Alberto Moreno. He was causing trouble down the left-hand side. He was crossing from the byline, and Chamberlain had almost a carbon copy of Solanke's headed effort, and that went over the bar. Not really much happened in the end. Newcastle got a corner in the 91st minute. That was the first corner of the game, and the ball landed to Diame in the middle of the 6-yard box, and I thought, here we go, 2-1, we're going to lose this one. But luckily enough, Diame hadn't really much chance or time to do anything with it. He kind of half toe poked it, and Mignolet was able to deal with it. Kind of the last kick of the game, it just proves what we were trying to do in the attack, where Mignolet was on the halfway line taking a free kick. But that was it. It ended up 1-1. Pretty poor game. Yet again, we're proved inept in front of goal. We've created more chances and converted. Some of the stats that you hear about the amount of chances that we've created over the last number of games and the amount of ones that have actually been on target and the ones that have converted speak for themselves. I read out some of the stats early on in the game, or earlier in the podcast, just relating to some of the things that happened during the game, and it'll give you some idea. It's not an uncommon trend for us at the moment, unfortunately. It's all too common a tale. But we head into the international break now, and our next match is Manchester United at home. So that's not going to be an easy ask. I'm concerned, and look at knowing us, we'll probably rise to the occasion and beat them, and I really hope we do. But it seems that we still have issues competing and dealing with the so-called lesser teams, and we obviously have issues in front of goal. I think January can't come too soon as far as I'm concerned, and I really, really do hope that we do take opportunities to bring in players in January, unlike previous January transfer windows where we seem to have established the fact that we don't buy in January. The last player we bought in January, I think, was Matip. It was either Matip or Grujic, and he was loaned straight back out again. We tend not to do any business in January unless it's sales, and I'm kind of hoping that trend bucks this year, because in my opinion, we need a centre back, we need a defensive midfielder, and we certainly need, as is evidenced in the last number of games, a prolific striker. You look at Jurgen Klopp's post-match interviews of late have been about how we've been unlucky and how we've been this and we've been that. We haven't been clinical enough in front of goal. I think we're certainly suffering from a confidence issue now. The longer this goes on, I think the worse it's going to get, particularly for a defence that keeps conceding goals. I think it's important that we play an established, we get our back four established, because when you keep changing goalkeepers and you keep changing defenders, it certainly doesn't bode well for the confidence of the players involved, because you have to build up a relationship and an understanding with your back line. And that goes from goalkeepers right out to the two wing backs or to the two full backs. There has to be an understanding, and that's only works through game time together. So it's not helping that we're chopping and changing. I understand there has to be a certain amount of rotation, but I think there has to be an established back for, particularly so early on in the season. I know we suffered from burnout last year because, at Christmas we kind of got tired, but at the same time, I think in the defence it's important that our defenders establish a relationship and get consistent run of games together. Excuse me. Apologies for my voice. I am suffering from a bit of laryngitis at the moment. But that's pretty much it for me. I would ask that anybody who's listening, if they could see their way fit to visiting us on social media, you get us on Facebook at Talk LFC Podcast, same on Twitter. You can email the show or us directly at talklfcpodcast@gmail.com. At the moment, we're looking for a podcast sponsor, a title sponsor. So if you know anybody who's interested in sponsoring the show, we'd certainly do our best to give them as much coverage as possible. You can check out our website. It's at talklfcpodcast.com. Plenty of news articles and information there. And you can also listen back to our past podcasts via the website too. If you want to check out our custom merchandise as well, it's available on our Redbubble store. The link is below in the description on our podcast page on Spreaker. It's also available on our social media account, so you can see it there too. All proceeds from our store are used to pay the running costs of the podcast, which are actually going to increase from next month onwards, as we had a 1-year deal done with the podcasting company. So that's yet the costs are going to double, as in from October 15th, I think it is our next date. So we would ask if anybody knows anyone who's interested in sponsoring us. We certainly give them plenty of coverage, and I suppose the last thing I want, is to play out. I suppose we play out with Gini Wijnaldum's post-match interview. What I want to do is I want to thank everybody for listening. I would ask that, as I said, that you share this podcast and that you like and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
1-1 in the end. Frustration, perhaps the emotion at the end of things?
Yeah, that we didn't, I say that, score the chances that we had. And, this that makes it frustrating because I think we deserve to win today. We gave, I think, two chances away. One was the goal, and the second one was in the second half after the set piece. But I think we had clear chances today, good opportunities to score a goal, but unfortunately we didn't make them.
The manner of the Newcastle goal, does that sum up our luck at the moment? It's taken a horrible deflection off. Jolie's tried to clear it and it's gone in.
Yeah, that's also, we're unlucky now in this moment, but still, if we score the chance that we have, those things can happen, and then at the end no one will speak about it again. But now, because we didn't score the chance that we had, we conceded one where we were not concentrated enough. Everyone will talk about the goal that they scored.
How do we change that luck then, and how do we make it so we do take those chances?
It's difficult to say. I don't think people miss on purpose. I think everyone trying to score a goal, but we are not lucky now with the finishing. But it's difficult to say what we have to do. First of all, I think it's good that you create that many chances, but now we have to make another step to score those chances. But how is difficult to say, because no one miss on purpose, and it was always difficult to find a reason for that.
I know you guys will want a game tomorrow when you don't win, but it's the international break now. Let's get everyone a chance just to pause for a second, clear their heads, and go again for United after the break.
Sometimes it's annoying when you're in a good run. I think the last time when we went away, that time period was annoying because we were in a good run. We played good games. We won at that time 4-0 from Arsenal. So you want to continue that run, and then the break is not really good. It's not welcome at that moment, but I think now, because of the results were not really good, I think it's good if everyone goes to another place to be in.
Thank you for listening to Talk LFC Podcast. Be sure to follow us at facebook.com/Talk LFC Podcast and on Twitter at twitter.com/Talk LFC Podcast. Get in touch with us by email at talklfcpodcast@gmail.com or via our website at www.talklfcpodcast.com.